good? Entrepreneurs, owners, hustlers. I've never introduced a podcast like that, but here we are. Have a really great story today. We have Aaron Vix, founder of AVIX One, and he's been starting to build a great story. He has a great story, but been starting to build a great story that a lot of us as entrepreneurs face. Being too involved in the business, not having the ability to work on it and grow the business, to now really starting to carve out a lot of time and space to grow his business, really capitalize on an amazing market. It's going to be a great story if you're someone who's struggling, not able to work on the business because you're just doing so much in accounts. You're going to enjoy this one. So Aaron, good to have you on the pod, man. For everyone that doesn't know Aaron or AVIX One, who's Aaron? What is AVIX One?
Hey everybody, thanks for having me on, Jordan. My name's Aaron Vix, and I'm the founder of AVIX One Consulting. We're an accounting firm that specializes in governmental clients, predominantly in the state of Arizona, but we also do some work in we've done it historically in Nevada. We have a client over in Texas right now as well, and looking to expand. It's been great here working with Jordan so far, and I'm sure we'll dive into some of those details with it. And just super excited to be on this podcast.
Yeah, thanks, bro. And like I said, it's been really cool. For those of you listening, if you know me, we primarily work with a lot of digital marketing companies. I had the pleasure of meeting Aaron at our live event in October of 2023. He came from a friend. His friend, runs a service-based business in the insurance world. Reed, shout out to Reed, go Bucks. He's a Buckeye alumni like I am. And Aaron runs an accounting firm, which, when I met Aaron, we had actively worked with another accounting firm. And, he's our second. We actually signed a new accounting firm this previous week. So I told him before the podcast, I said, hey, I think we're starting to carve out our second industry in the accounting world. So let's go quick high level for you, Aaron. You came in. I gave a brief recap of what your scenario was, but when we met back in October of 2023, where was your business? What was the scenario that you were facing that made you curious or seeking out potential assistance in growing out of whatever situation that was?
Yeah, so back in the fall of 2023, man, I was just facing just perpetual burnout, and there was no shortage of demand and client requests, but wanting to do more business, but I had zero trajectory, just any vision or idea of which path to go that didn't mean more burnout for me, and the idea of taking on anything more was just unimaginable. So Reed was going to that conference, and he said, hey, you should check this guy out, and I looked you up online, and ADF, and the thing that really caught me was just being a prisoner to your own agency, and I mean that's exactly how I felt there, and since then I've been working with Zach, and man, it's been fantastic just to start to see that already reach that light at the end of the tunnel, and go beyond that as well. But we started back then. I had two people working underneath me, so a team of three, and since then we've added two more people as well to the team, and it's been moving in a great direction, for sure.
Unbelievable. So I want to go a level deeper before we talk about why were you feeling burnt out when we met each other? What specifically caused burnout for you at that point in the career?
Yeah, I think everything in the business had to go through me. Every decision, most of the work. We had very few SOPs developed, but also there was just a huge gap in training. So even if there was an SOP, the team members, when it came to decision time, they weren't equipped and empowered to make those decisions, to basically take things on their own and run with them. So I think some of those were the biggest bottlenecks. I think some of it as well was right from the get go, Zach had identified that a lot of the work that we took on was very standardized, and everything was a one off, and I had kind of prided myself in that business model. But then I realized just how unrepeatable, how unscalable it was, and so I think those were like the immediate things that we started working on right away, and by chipping away at those, it's opened up the possibilities to
Yeah,
so many
and
other
I
things.
appreciate you sharing. It's a common story, right? We as practitioners get into business because we're good at our skill. Like obviously, you in the world of financial literacy, accounting, bookkeeping, tax strategy, like you have a lot to offer to your clients, right? So building a business really around you, where you're the sun and your business is solar system, it's easy to fall into because you're the genius in your business, just like I was, when I started this. So I appreciate you setting the stage. When we started working with you, what were some of the initial findings and initial systems that Zach shared with you outside of the one you said, it was a really bespoke business model customized to every client? What were some of the things that you started building on those first like 60 days with us?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things was number one, like defining, what is our ideal client? Who do we want to work with? Starting to define, what are we even going to offer clients? When Zach even asked me that, he's like, what are your offer? Like what is your ideal offer? And I was like, I don't even know what that means, what that question even means. And so I mean, being able to dive into that, and be able to really hone in of, hey, instead of you coming to us and just saying like whatever problem under the sun you have, like we'll solve it for you for a certain hourly rate. Like here's the things that we're going to do really well. We're going to give you these package one, package two, and package three, and we're going to kind of dictate the terms to you. And by doing that, we can kind of define and set the stage of, well, if we know we're only going to be offering three different packages, now it's much easier to backfill and train and standardize our internal processes with that. Some of it as well was, learning how to say no to some of these projects. In the beginning, that was probably the hardest thing. Was I was so accustomed just to saying yes to everything, to being more strategic and saying no when it didn't make sense strategically. Um, Another thing too was actually starting to build out more like internal mechanisms to kind of track our SOPs. Have internal trainings, and here's going to be our checklist that we follow. So that way, whether it's myself or Greg or Ted or Mona or Deb, no matter who's doing it, we're all going to do it the same way as well. Opposed to in the past, everything's just been conceptually up in my head, and no one else has been able to tap into that information very easily. So I think those are the biggest things. A couple other areas that come to mind would be, actually like looking at, well, what does that onboarding process look like with clients as well? Because that was very, very unclear of just, every time a client came on board, it took me a lot of time, and, you know, I could have five different clients come on board, and I'd have five different processes for how it happened, and so going through some of those flow charts, and really mapping out of just what are these processes going to look like, or what do they look like now, and what should they look like. It's been
Awesome.
very eye
So
opening
a
for
lot of good
sure.
stuff that was said there, right? With most clients, starting with the offer is not so common because you know it's one of those things you start selling. You have most people have one offer for you because you have so much sophistication in what you can do. It wasn't standardized. So defining what are we selling and to who, right? Which allowed us to begin to say, all right, we need to create boundaries. If this is going to be our business model, here's how we standardize it, right? Here's what we're going to sell. And then once we did that, what I heard was, okay, now let's define some structure. If this is the business model we're selling, this is the customer selling to. How do we actually do this? What's the workflow, right? What's the onboarding process for clients? What's the first step, second step, third step? So going all the way through the onboarding process. From there, really defining some SOPs. From there, really defining a standard process for checklist and project management. And that was your first phase one, as we would call it. Does that sound like a fair recap?
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
absolutely,
So we start with
absolutely.
the foundation. How long did all this take you? Because I just said a lot. that could take a while for a lot of different people. How long did it take you?
So we've been working together for about 3 months now. So I think those items, that was about like the first 60 days. But honestly, some of these things are, I've some of these, we'll have our week to week calls or bi-weekly calls, and some of it, we'll knock it out of the park and get everything, check all his boxes and have everything done. But some of it is, I think it's been good working with Zach because he's kept me moving and kept, let's say we're only like 75% done with a certain task, like we'll still move on to the next week, and so it's given an opportunity to, some of these things are kind of a growing. Um, they're constantly changing, right? And as I learn more of weeks 4, 5, and 6, it gives me a chance to reflect on what we had for to dos or tasks back in weeks 2, 3, and 4, and revisit some of those and kind of optimize them as well. So long story short, though, I'd say about 60 days for those things that we
Yeah, so it
listed
took
right
about two
there.
months, but within those 2 months, you actually said something I love. I think entrepreneurship is really hard, and maybe you could speak towards this. Like before working with ADF and entrepreneurs in general, we don't have those accountability mechanisms because it's us. We are the accountability mechanism. And there's something called Solomon's paradox. It states that we're able to see and solve other people's problems easier than we can ourselves. Right. So it's like why have people who do great marketing for other businesses, but they do horrible marketing for themselves? It's that concept. Right. Uh, and one of the things I heard from you, you really
Right.
valued, you value the partnership that you're getting because it keeps you on the journey. It allows you to go deeper. It allows you to stay accountable because I mean, we all have, it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to kind of, you know, start focusing on something else if something's 75% done. But that partnership with Zach allowed you to really stay on the path. And then also, once we had version one of some of these things, we went a little bit deeper. Let's iterate, let's build mechanisms to make it better. So I really love those points. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and a follow up on that as well is just, I think the accountability is huge. It can be very easy for me of like I know first and foremost of just how important it is to build this stuff out to kind of get myself out of the equation to power the team. But my default is like when things get difficult, just to like put my nose to the grindstone and like get kind of caught in the weeds instead of like staying at that 40,000 foot level of the CEO type thing. And so having these weekly calls is very helpful to kind of snap me out of it. The other thing too, like you talked about with the paradox there of, I agree 100% of a lot of what we do too with consulting is helping everyone else with their problems. But when it comes to helping our own problems, it's much more difficult. And it's been huge for, before working with 8F, I had various ideas rattling around in my brain of like directions to go, but I didn't necessarily have clarity or conviction as to like which was the right direction to go. And so having a very knowledgeable person to bounce things off of and collaborate with to come up with a strong plan going forward makes it much more easy for me to, if I know like we're going in this direction, like it's easy, it's so much easier for me to just, okay, point in that direction and kind of put the blinders up and it's like, okay, let's commit to that direction, opposed to like being kind of pulled in 50 different directions and second guessing every step along the way.
Yeah, no, that I totally appreciate that. It really goes down. It's like Pareto's principle. 20% of our actions lead to 80% of our results, but unless we really sit down as entrepreneurs, and I think one of the hard things with working with any professional, a lot of people when you work with a consultant on the marketplace, they might have a methodology and point you down the wrong direction. But what you're saying is you felt so much conviction. I really see this path. I really believe in this path. Okay, let's move forward because I know when I do these things, it's going to compound to getting me out of this burnout, to getting me the ability to work on the business and grow again and take time off. Right. here's a quick sidebar question. Before 8F, were you able to take time off? Was that ever a thought? Like, and now, even only 90 days into it, where are you at on just your ability? Even maybe you're not able to take time off fully yet, but on your ability to have more balance, what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, actually, coming back to Reed, we had a hunting trip, and I think we were just even trying to get out for like I think maybe 2 business days and then like 2 weekend days, and this was before I started working with ADF, right before, and man, I was freaking out. Like, I felt like I had to move mountains just to set everything up, just to, be away from a computer or a phone for 2 days out of cell phone reception. And just very, very stressful, just the whole idea of it. And yeah, now that we've kind of worked through, some of the, worked through that backlog, now that we've kind of cleaned up our offerings, now that we've standardized what we do and been able to bring the team on, and also with that also manage the client expectations that hey, we're strategically not going to put ourselves in a situation where, like, um, maybe like, for instance, if I need to take 2 days off, or if I want to, I should be able to. If my team members need to do that as well, like, they should be able to. And so, having that direction to not put ourselves, pigeonhole ourselves in that situation. So yeah, I've been able to actually in the last month finally, take a lot of well needed time off, and including weekdays as well. And it's been awesome just to see the team members just get in there and crush it. And everything's just getting taken care of. All the T's are getting crossed, all the I's are getting dotted. So it's been
Unbelievable,
incredible in
yeah.
that
And
regard for sure.
I would imagine that's a big relief too, right? Like, it's relieving, right? You had to move mountains, your own words, to be able to take a couple days off, but now it's like, oh, I could take off on a Friday, do a longer weekend, and not be stressed out. Actually, like, feel like I have space to do it. It's a relieving experience. It's an empowering experience, because it also, it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy, where that relief and that empowerment allows you to do more of it and compound it more and more and more. And when you come back, even if it's a 3 day weekend, you could come back with more energy to keep working on the things that have got you to 3 days off that allow you to get to 7 days. So I really love that. You said, I want to go keep diving in. You said you onboard 2 team members, and you've been able to kind of realign on expectations with clients. So when it comes to the team members side of things, what was different from this time around? Now that you've onboarded 2 team members, kind of with 8F, like in your back pocket, how did you approach that process differently?
Yeah, I think having it, the the first 2 team members was pre ADF, and that was a pretty fragmented process. We were just kind of winging it. Didn't really have a clear picture as to, we were just kind of figuring everything out as we went. And I think having these 2 new team members come on with ADF, and also coinciding with like having that idea as to, you know, to circle back to what we talked about, of like, okay, here's the offerings we're going to have, here's our ideal client. It made it much easier to say, okay, here's the new person, we already have an idea as to, like, if we're only going to offer these 3 types of services, it's much clearer of, okay, we're going to have, new person one, we're going to have you working in these 2 areas, 2 out of the 3 areas type thing. Here's a little bit more predictability with, the types of questions you're going to get and so forth. And here's the training material. So it's really helped in that regard. And yeah, we're actually looking at hiring some more people now. And I think the next step with that is kind of building out the onboarding process, the talent onboarding process. Because while we do have some things in place, one of the bottlenecks that Zach and I have identified is just that, okay, if a bunch of work comes on board, a bunch of client demand, we want to have it a very lean process to, bring on talent as fast as possible to meet that demand as well. So we're definitely looking forward to working on
Awesome.
that
So
in the near future.
we've been able to bring on 2 team members, and now we're facing the real position to grow. So we really covered a lot of what we did in the first 2 months with you. It's only been 3 months, right? You've been able to add multiple tens of thousands of dollars in recurring revenue to your company, which is a great win. You've been able to get a lot of your time back. You're feeling a lot of confidence, maybe confidence you haven't felt before. In the last 30 days, what's been the focus in the last 30 days, and what do you see the focus for like the next quarter of collaboration with us?
Yeah, I think I think really honing in on like the execution of the next 30 days and the next quarter of the execution of the things that we talked about of like standardizing everything. So we have a new software platform where we can track all our tasks and assign it out, and then have training videos and so forth, and track timelines and all that. And so I've really been putting a lot of my energy into. It hit the nail on the head. I really resonated with it when you're talking about of like it's kind of a self fulfilling prophecy of now that I've had this newfound ability to take some time off and got some confidence of it was a very positive immediate reinforcement of like, wow, like the steps we're taking are working. So in the past where I'd be like, oh man, I gotta get in here, I gotta do I gotta do this recurring monthly project for this clients. I'm stressed out because I have a million other things to do. It's been nice to have that direction and the mechanisms to now I'm like really actually looking forward to it. Like for instance, today I was like, hey, I can't wait to get in there and do this project, which would normally be like very mundane for me. But I'm going to map out all the steps. I'm going to take videos, training videos of all the steps along the way, and I got a plan for who's going to take it over and when. And so it's really exciting to basically see like that stuff start to come to fruition, and like the possibilities that are going to come next from it. Just because like once all these things are all built out too, I think it's
Oh
going to be like a
yeah.
snowball effect to where the rest of the team can just keep
I
taking
really
it
love
and
your
running with it
focus,
more
and I
and
really
more.
love how you're talking about the snowball effect, because I think in this situation, a lot of founders start to say, I'm getting momentum, let's grow like crazy. And I actually think for what you offer, the type of service you offer is the type of service you could have an account for 20, 30 years. Like you could sign an account and never, ever turn them, right? Especially in the financial services space, accounting space, bookkeeping space. The stickiness of clients when you do good work is like indefinite, right? Because once you have a good accountant, like why would you ever go get someone else to do that, right? Um, so I
Right.
really love how your focus is, hey, like let's not go double this company. Let's actually lean into this and let's build. I think about going from good to great. Like let's really dig our feet into the sand. You played college hockey or high school hockey? Which one was it?
High
Oh,
school,
I didn't know you played college soccer.
college
Very
soccer
cool. So
1 year.
I mean, either analogy, right? Like I think about
Yep.
the difference between the ones who reach the collegiate level and the ones who go pro. Skill set wise, it's like only a few degrees of difference in skill set usually, but that difference of skill set is hundreds of hours, right? Like the ability, if you're in college soccer, right? The ability to be like 30 yards out and, rip an upper 90 goal. I played soccer too, so we're talking same language here, right? It, the nuance there is
Right.
it
Yeah.
doesn't look big, but like I mean, I could think about when I was in my heyday in high school. I probably can do that. So for you guys, it's we're gonna lean in, we're gonna dig our feet deeper into where we're at. We're gonna build this into an exceptional service. We're gonna dial in our team member onboarding process to be able to ramp up, and then I'm gonna keep stepping out further, and then I'm gonna go sign on two, three, four, five big accounts, and then we're gonna have a repeatable and just keep doing that over and over. Dude, I am so excited for you, man. I could remember just a quick tangent here. When I met Aaron, I had my event, I think on a Thursday, and on Friday we met up. We were talking at Palisades Park in Santa Monica, overlooking the water. It was beautiful outlook, and I was just telling you, like, yeah, dude,
Beautiful.
like we could really help you scale this thing, get you out of the business. I remember I saw like the light bulb in your head, but I also felt there was every entrepreneur has that apprehension. Like it feels really I feel it, I believe it, but I'm also still apprehensive. So I just want to let you know I'm really just happy for you, man. I'm really happy that you've been able to get that initial taste of momentum and success, because it allows you to keep playing the game. Because like when we scope out over 5 years, dude, this is a sick. This is one of my favorite businesses. Is yours. Churn is not a, if you deliver good work, churn is not a problem. There's so many other businesses that you could run where you could do everything right and you could still lose clients just because of that service. For yours, it's the exact opposite. If you do everything right, your clients shouldn't be going anywhere. So for everyone that might be listening to this and might be like, oh, this is really cool, that might be considering ADAP, what would you say to those people just based on your initial experience?
Yeah, it's I totally agree with what you're saying there of the light bulb going off, but also the apprehension because it was like, yeah, I heard a lot of great things at the event. It seems like the ADF team really knows their stuff and everything. But there was a lot of the capital BUT like going through my head of just but this, but that, and just a lot of questions. But I really appreciated the onboarding, kind of the process of, um, hey, we got a discovery phase, and then from there it's a month to month type thing, no commitment. There's a little bit of investment up front, but I said, hey, for if even like a fraction of what you guys are talking about comes to fruition, the amount of the upfront investment was so minuscule. The ROI, the potential ROI was so huge with it. I said, to hell with it. Let's give it a whirl. And very, very glad we did. And yeah, I just really appreciate the structure of just um, when I went into it too, I just kind of full disclosure, I was asking a lot of people who were
Yeah.
at the event who were current clients, and I was just like, hey, how long you been with them? If I'm thinking about doing this, would it make sense just to do like that discovery phase and then spin off and just kind of take it and run with it, and it was surprising of how many people said, like they appreciate the ongoing, just ongoing support for the structure and the accountability and everything. And I feel like I personally pride myself in having good accountability. But so I was like, well, okay, that's great, but I don't really see that applying to me that much. But I'm
Yeah.
100% in that boat as well. And so I really do appreciate that accountability and the ongoing, just when questions come up. I just had a new potential employee kind of land in my lap, and being able to send Zach the resume. We're texting last night at 9 p.m. Just hey, what do you think of this? And just kind of working through some of the pros and cons of it. It's
I
definitely
love
definitely
that.
very
I'm
invaluable
gonna
for me.
steal that quote. That's gonna be the quote. I was able to text my consultant at 9 p.m. at night. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for coming on. For everyone that wants to learn more about AVIX and you and your company, where can they find you?
Yeah, you could go to avixone.com. That's V's and Victor IXONE.com. You could also find me, Aaron Vix, LinkedIn as well. Definitely would love to chat if you have any questions.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, brother. Cheers.